So I've been in the fitness industry for almost a decade now. Without a doubt, the most common question I get as a coach is, Chris, how do I lose fat around my stomach? And what is the best exercise to target belly fat? Now, if I had a pound for every time someone has said this to me, I would probably be a millionaire by now. So in this video, I'm going to cover exactly that. What is the best exercise to target your belly fat? Now, I want to start by saying the boring answer. You cannot spot reduce belly fat. You can't decide on your body which area you would love to lose fat from. Imagine if we could. It's not how it works. You can do as many crunches, many sit-ups as you like, but it's not going to help you lose the fat around your stomach unless you have one very simple thing adhere to week in, week out. We'll get on to more of that shortly. You need to think of your body like a swimming pool when it comes to losing body fat. And I've used this analogy in previous videos. Deep end, shallow end. If you are draining a swimming pool, you are not going to decide which area is going to drain first. You're always going to drain the shallow end first. This is just the way it works. The deep end is going to come last. The deep end is your belly fat. This is the stubborn area of fat to go. And for most guys, this is always going to be the stubborn area. And this is just down to genetics. This is just the way your body is made up. And it's the way that it is always going to be for a lot of us. The first bits to go, maybe it's going to be like around your arms, maybe your legs lean up first, you know, your lower back, you get a little bit off your face. But it's always the stomach that's going to be the part of your body which is going to take longer to lean down. And the very simple thing that you need to make sure you're adhering to make sure you finally get to where you want to get to and get this last bit of body fat off, it's going to be a calorie deficit. Now again, you've probably heard this word a lot of times, so let's explain exactly what that is. Now, a calorie deficit is making sure that you are consuming less calories than the amount of calories you're burning across each day. Very simply, the deficit that your body has to make up, it will grab either body fat or it's going to grab muscle. Now, obviously, if you're not consuming enough protein, if you're not resistance training, blah, 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 your body's going to probably pull muscle as well as a bit of fat, and you'll end up losing weight, but you're probably not going to actually end up looking much better, and your body composition is certainly not going to improve. So you probably end up being a bit skinny fat. You know, the scales might drop a little bit, but you're probably not going to actually get to where you want to get to. So this is why you need to make sure you're obviously targeting towards fat loss. So being in a calorie deficit is the only way that we can lose body fat. It's the only way to ensure that we are going to get leaner and get the six pack, get our abs to come through and get the bikini body that we want. Have to make sure this is the absolute key. Now, the easiest way to make sure we're in a calorie deficit, the thing that we've got the most control over is obviously going to be your nutrition. Now, you need to make sure that this is the number one intervention towards fat loss. You have to make sure you're consuming good quality food, which is going to put you in a calorie deficit. That goes without saying. You can just forget about exercise for the moment if you're not controlling your nutrition and what you put in your mouth. That's the number one priority. If we have to start looking at exercise in terms of a way of burning calories and what the exercise that I would recommend to do for that, here's where we would start. Now, you could go and do, you know, lots of running. You could go and do lots of rowing or cycling or, you know, whatever it is you like to enjoy. You could go do lots of HIIT classes, or you could do CrossFit. Anything really is going to lead to you burning calories. Go into illicit fat loss if you are burning calories and doing this kind of stuff. You know, for the average person that goes for a run, the average guy, probably going to burn maybe around 10 to 12 calories per minute. So, you know, let's say you do a half an hour run, you do a 5-6K, you could burn maybe around 300 calories, which is pretty good. However, the problem lies where can you be consistent doing this for long enough time to get results? Lots of people take up running when they get started, but they don't consistently do it because, you know, they get bored. It's hard. They end up getting injured. They get fatigued. It's just something that requires a bit more effort to keep going and doing a run. And it's exactly the same with, you know, your HIIT classes. You know, yes, they're okay. However, with a HIIT class, you're always going to have the potential risk of an injury. You know, it's the effort to go and do that because it requires a lot of effort to go and do a high intensity training session. So some weeks you're like, nah, you know, I can't really bother to do it today. Then you drop off and you lose consistency. So what I'm trying to say is you can do these exercises towards losing fat and they can work for some of us, but it's just the element of consistency. And I don't know about you as well, but when I do a hard, intense workout, something that requires burning a lot of calories, something, you know, endurance related, or maybe a big AMRAP at the gym or something like that, which basically means as many rounds as possible in a CrossFit word there. Essentially, this leads to me feeling very fatigued, very hungry. You know, I get tired, I'm glued to the sofa, so I can't move around that much more. It's not a great way to lose body fat. You know, I could quite simply go to the gym, I could smash, you know, a massive WOD and burn 400 calories, and I could just come home and just eat a bowl of oats easily and be, oh, well, you know, I've done my workout for today and I could just eat the calories back. It's so simple. Just have a protein bar and you consume 250 calories right there. So the point I'm trying to make is we need to try and find a form of exercise which is really easy, really simple, something that's got a very low barrier of entry, something you can be very consistent with, that you can do day in, day out, doesn't cause you to get hungry, doesn't cause you to get fatigued. It's just part of your lifestyle. If you hadn't have guessed, it's walking. It's simply just walking. That is the best exercise that you can do to lose belly fat. And I will promise you that. Simply just by moving around more, you're going to burn more calories. And if we think about how many calories we would burn across doing 10,000 steps per day, so let's say we take an average male, again, around say 75 kilos, you're probably going to burn an extra 300 to 400 calories per day from just simply doing 10,000 steps. And I know that's not easy. I'm not saying everyone's got the time to do all these steps. And for some people, 10,000 steps is quite tough. But if we really think and carve out the time to do these steps, we plan, we think about how we can be a bit more active, we're going to get a good return and probably be able to schedule this in much easier than having to go for a run every single morning or having to go to a class every morning or, you know, try and keep up with some sort of sport that we think that we should be doing. We can probably find the time to do steps. Even if we start at around 8,000 or slightly less than that, we're still going to burn a decent amount of calories, which will compound over time. And if we go back to my example of a guy that burns between, say, 300 and 400 calories per day from a step count, let's just say it's around 350 calories per day. And let's say they do that across the entire year for 365 days straight, which again, it's pretty realistic. I can't remember the last day that I didn't get 10,000 steps in now. That would equate to an extra 127,750 calories burnt per year, which is a lot. And if we think about the fact that 1 pound of fat has got around 3,500 calories in it, we can elicit around 36.5 pounds of additional fat loss just from simply doing 10,000 steps per day. That's it. Not even looking at your diet, just from simply doing 10,000 steps per day, keeping your diet at around maintenance, you would still burn that much fat every single day from just doing more walking. And if we look at our TDEE graph, which is a fancy graph which looks at the total daily energy expenditure that we burn across each day as human beings, you will see that our NEAT, which is our non-exercise activity thermogenesis, burns around 15 to 20%, depending on your job and your lifestyle, of your calories across each day. Now, what non-exercise activity thermogenesis means is basically all of the calories that you burn outside of regular exercise. And yes, you could say, well, if you're going for a walk intentionally, that contributes towards exercise, which it does in some form, but for this example, for most people, for a lot of the time, your steps are going to fall into the NEAT bracket, which means they have a much greater effect of burning calories rather than your exercise activity thermogenesis, which takes up a tiny 5% of the total calories that you burn across each day. Yes, for some of you guys that do fancy endurance workouts or some of you runners, that could be maybe 10%, but it's not going to be that significant. You burn more calories from the food that you eat each day than the exercise that you do. So if we're trying to burn as much fat as we can from exercise when it's only that small little ratio, it's just not the most optimal thing to be looking at. Whereas if we focus on a high step count, which for most of us is pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, it's something that we can all do, we're going to burn a much greater amount of overall calories across the day, around 15 to 20%, which is going to have a much greater effect on our overall fat loss results rather than your regular methods of exercise. So I hope this video helps you understand the number one exercise for burning belly fat is very simply walking. If you can just be more active, get more steps in, you are going to have a much greater chance of seeing your six pack or seeing your flat stomach rather than trying to take up running or fancy HIIT workouts, stuff that you can't really remain consistent with for maybe more than a few weeks. Walking is the way forward. You can walk your way to getting and keeping a six pack much quicker, much more effectively from just simply walking more rather than trying to do more cycling or rowing or HIIT workouts or Insanity or any wacky classes that you're currently doing at your gym. So as always, I hope you found this video useful. Please make sure you smash the like button, make sure you hit subscribe for future videos, hit the bell notification so you're notified when I'm posting, and I will catch you in the next video.